of a show on the Royal Commission on Aboriginal Peoples. So this began in 1991 with the establishment of the Royal Commission, which was a response to the Oka crisis and the need to address broader issues affecting Indigenous peoples. Then came research and consultation in 1991 through 1993. Then came the interim report in 1993, which displayed preliminary findings and recommendations. Then the final report, titled People to People, Nation to Nation, highlights from the report of the Royal Commission on Aboriginal Peoples in November of 1996. Then from 1996 to present day, the full implementation of these recommendations have been slow and uneven, with various challenges and resistance at the governmental and societal levels. And now with the summary, the Royal Commission on Aboriginal Peoples was a royal commission that was established in 1991, which was a product born from the Oka crisis in 1990. The Oka crisis consisted of land disputes in the village of Oka in Quebec City. This consisted of a 78-day standoff between the Mohawk resistance and Quebec City. This resulted in a broad survey of historical and contemporary relations between Indigenous individuals and Canadian society. Following the events of the Oka crisis, former Chief Justice Brian Dixon developed a response to the crisis by consulting with regional Indigenous individuals, Indigenous leaders, as well as federal and provincial politicians. The purpose of the commission was to create a complex research agenda involving Indigenous peoples. The conclusion of the report suggested that the structure, as well as the relationship of Indigenous peoples and non-Indigenous peoples in Canada, was severely flawed. An additional recommendation was stated as suggesting the proposal of a new royal proclamation, and this would require the government to commit to respecting Indigenous peoples of Canada. From the Royal Commission, a new relationship would allow for the acknowledgement of Indigenous peoples. Canada took the opportunity, due to the events that led up to the Oka crisis, to recognize and support initiatives to address Indigenous matters both socially and economically. The Royal Commission shines a light on the Indigenous side of affairs in the contemporary world. While it isn't as if the Royal Commission was something that ended all issues regarding Indigenous affairs, it did lead to a number of things, and I feel like that's what I really learned a lot during my research of this, is that while it didn't, of course, didn't end all issues surrounding Indigenous peoples and all affairs in that sense, but it definitely seemed like a turning point for Canada to really acknowledge Indigenous peoples and their just claim to land, and just acknowledge them at the like state level. And I feel like that's really important, because it's like one step forward, further to reconciliation, which is just a huge part in Canadian history. So I feel like that's the Royal Commission on Aboriginal Peoples was a very positive thing in Canadian history. And here are my references. And yeah, thank you for watching. Yeah.